Have you ever wondered why the love that once felt so magical now feels like a prison? Why the person who once made you feel like the center of their universe now leaves you questioning your worth? This is the painful paradox of loving a narcissist. It begins with an illusion so intoxicating, so convincing, that you believe you finally found the kind of love that only exists in dreams. They make you feel seen in a way no one else ever has. Every word, every look, every gesture seems to whisper, "You are special, you are chosen, you are everything I ever wanted," and you believe it because, in that moment, it feels real. But what you don't see is that this intensity isn't born from love, it's born from hunger. A hunger not for connection but for control. A hunger not to build with you but to feed off you. They study you with precision, learning your vulnerabilities, your desires, your wounds, and they mirror them back like a perfect reflection. You mistake this reflection for intimacy, but it's a mask. A carefully crafted illusion designed to pull you in deeper. And the more you believe in that mask, the more power they gain over your heart. You start to think, maybe this is what true love feels like. The rush, the obsession, the constant highs. It feels like passion, but in reality it's chaos disguised as devotion. Their love bombing makes you feel as though you've been rescued from a lifetime of loneliness. But the cruel truth is that it isn't rescue, it's capture. They build you up so high not because they want you to soar, but because it makes the fall more devastating when they decide to push you down. And yet, who wouldn't fall for it? We all long to be chosen, to feel extraordinary in the eyes of someone we care about. Your trust is not weakness, your hope is not foolishness. It's human nature to want to believe in love, to see the good in someone who promises to give you everything you've ever dreamed of. That's why it's so dangerous. Because what begins as a fairy tale quickly twists into a trap, and by the time you start to notice the cracks, you're already emotionally invested, already clinging to the version of them that may never have existed in the first place. The reason this is so powerful is because it plays on the deepest human need, the need for belonging. We crave connection the way we crave air. And when someone comes along who makes us feel seen and valued, our minds and hearts attach. Psychologists call it intermittent reinforcement, the same tactic used in gambling. You never know when the reward will come, but when it does, it hooks you harder. That's how the narcissist operates. They give you just enough affection, just enough promises, just enough hope to keep you addicted to the idea of who they pretend to be. But here's the truth you need to hold on to. What you are experiencing is not love, it is an illusion of love. Love is not meant to confuse you. It is not meant to leave you feeling unworthy or constantly second-guessing yourself. Real love is steady, not erratic. It builds, it doesn't break. It brings peace, not chaos. And if what you're experiencing feels like a storm that never calms, then it is not love, no matter how deeply you wish it to be. You may be asking yourself, if it's not real, then why does it feel so real? Why does it feel like the deepest connection I've ever had? And the answer is this. The intensity of a narcissist's attention is designed to overwhelm you. It bypasses logic and speaks directly to your emotions. It makes you feel like you've finally been chosen when in reality you've been targeted. That's what makes it so hard to let go. You're not just holding on to the person, you were holding on to the promise, the dream, the fantasy of what you thought you had. But if you stay until the end of this journey, if you allow yourself to see the full picture, you will uncover something far more powerful than the illusion. You will discover the freedom that comes from clarity, the strength that comes from truth, and the unshakable self-worth that no manipulator can ever take away from you again. Because the reward for facing this painful truth is not despair, it is transformation. It is the chance to rise from the ashes of false love and step into a life where you are no longer begging for scraps of affection, but instead, building a foundation of real love. Starting with the love you give to yourself. The illusion may have been powerful, but you are more powerful still. And when you recognize the difference between manipulation and love, you take back control. That is the beginning of your freedom. And then, slowly, the mask begins to slip. The charm that once felt endless starts to fade, and you notice subtle changes that leave you questioning yourself. The compliments become rare, the warmth turns into cold silence, and the affection that once felt so abundant now feels like a privilege you must earn. It's confusing because you've tasted the sweetness of their attention and now you're desperate to have it back. You replay moments in your head, wondering what you did wrong, convincing yourself that if you just try harder, if you just love them more, they'll return to the person you first met. This is the trap, the cycle that keeps you hooked. The narcissist lifts you high, only to drop you without warning. They build you up, only to tear you down. And each time you fall, you cling even tighter to the memory of the beginning, hoping to feel that rush again. It's not love, it's conditioning. Psychologists call it the cycle of idealization, devaluation, and discard. It's not accidental, it's deliberate. It's how they maintain control. They know that by keeping you off balance, by never letting you feel fully secure, they can keep you chasing after them, desperate to win back what was never real to begin with. At first, you question their behavior. You wonder why the person who once adored you now criticizes everything you do. But over time, the constant devaluation seeps into your mind like poison. You start to believe their words. You begin to doubt your own worth. What was once confidence slowly turns into insecurity. What was once clarity becomes confusion. And in the midst of it all, you lose sight of the truth. You lose sight of yourself. This is the painful truth about loving a narcissist. They don't just take your time and your energy, they take your identity. They rewrite your reality until you no longer recognize who you are without them. And the cruelest part is that you think it's your fault. You blame yourself for their distance, for their anger, for their cruelty. You tell yourself that if only you were better, if only you were enough, they would love you the way they once did. But hear this clearly, it is not your fault. Their behavior is not a reflection of your value. It is a reflection of their emptiness. You cannot fill the void inside someone who refuses to face it. You cannot fix the brokenness of a person who hides behind arrogance and control. And you should never sacrifice your own spirit to heal someone who is unwilling to heal themselves. This is what happens when you're caught in their cycle. You give and give until there's nothing left, hoping one day your love will be enough. But no amount of love will ever satisfy a heart that thrives on power, not connection. Think about the toll this takes on you. The constant walking on eggshells, the fear of saying the wrong thing, the anxiety of never knowing which version of them you'll face, the charming one who pulls you close or the cold one who pushes you away. This emotional roller coaster is not love. It's abuse disguised as affection. And every day you stay, it chips away at your peace, your self-esteem, and your ability to see yourself clearly. But here is where your strength begins to rise. The very fact that you are listening, the very fact that you are seeking understanding, proves that deep down, a part of you still knows the truth. That part of you knows you deserve more than this. It knows that real love should not make you feel small. Real love does not humiliate you. Real love does not make you beg for approval. Real love lifts you. And the moment you stop excusing their behavior and start confronting reality, you begin to take your power back. It is not weakness to feel broken by this cycle. It is not weakness to admit how much it has hurt you. The truth is, it takes extraordinary strength to face the pain of betrayal and manipulation. It takes courage to confront the lies you've been fed and admit that what you thought was love was in fact control. And it takes even greater courage to decide you will no longer be part of that cycle. This is not the end of your story. The pain you've endured is not the final chapter, it is the turning point. Every tear you've cried, every doubt you've battled, every moment you've questioned yourself has prepared you for a powerful truth. You are stronger than the grip they hold over you. Their cycle only works if you continue to believe you are powerless. But the moment you realize that their cruelty is not a reflection of your worth, the cycle begins to lose its power. The reward waiting for you on the other side of this pain is freedom. Freedom from the chains of manipulation. Freedom from the constant questioning. Freedom from the emotional prison that has kept you locked away from your true self. And when you claim that freedom, you don't just break away from them, you rise into a version of yourself you may have forgotten existed. A version filled with clarity, resilience, and the unshakable knowledge that you deserve real love. The kind that heals and protects, not the kind that destroys. The cycle may feel endless, but it is not stronger than you. You have the power to break it. And once you do, you will never again settle for anything less than the love you truly deserve. The greatest cost of staying with a narcissist is not the arguments, the silent treatments, or even the betrayal. The greatest cost is the slow erosion of your soul. Piece by piece, day by day, you start to lose the parts of yourself that once made you feel alive. You silence your voice just to keep the peace. You hide your feelings because expressing them only leads to criticism. You stop dreaming because every time you reach for more, they find a way to cut you down. It's like drowning in plain sight, still breathing, still moving, but no longer living. This is how they win, not by physically controlling you, but by convincing you that you are powerless without them. They want you to forget who you were before they entered your life. They want you to believe that their opinion defines your value. They want you to think that their love, as twisted and conditional as it is the best you'll ever get. But here's the truth, this is not love. It's captivity. And every day you stay, you surrender pieces of yourself that were never meant to be given away. Think of the moments you've questioned your worth because of their words, the times you've stood in front of a mirror and wondered if you were enough, the nights you lain awake replaying arguments in your mind, asking yourself if you were the problem. That self-doubt is not yours, it was planted in you. It was nurtured by their manipulation. And the longer you stay, the deeper those doubts take root, until you can no longer separate their lies from your own beliefs. But imagine what this does to your spirit over time. Your laughter grows quieter, your energy becomes depleted, your light, once vibrant and powerful, starts to dim, and perhaps the most dangerous part of all, you begin to forget the life you deserve. You start to normalize the chaos, to convince yourself that love is supposed to hurt, that passion and pain are two sides of the same coin. But love is not meant to destroy you. Love is meant to heal. If it breaks you, it's not love, it's control wearing the mask of love. The cost of staying isn't just emotional, it's physical too. Stress lives in your body. The constant tension weakens your health. Anxiety grips your chest. Exhaustion weighs on your shoulders. You begin to feel tired not just in your body but in your soul. This is what happens when you live in a constant state of survival. When your nervous system is always bracing for the next outburst, the next withdrawal, the next punishment. You don't realize how heavy the burden is until you finally put it down. And yet, even knowing the pain, many stay, not because they are weak, but because they are hopeful. Hope is a powerful thing. You hope that if you just hold on long enough, the person you fell in love with will return. You hope that if you love them more fiercely, more patiently, they will finally change. You hope that the moments of kindness, though rare, are proof of who they really are. But that hope, as beautiful as it is, becomes a cage. Because every time you hope, you overlook the reality staring you in the face. They are showing you who they are every single day. And here is the truth you must face. No matter how painful it feels, the person you want them to be only exists in your imagination. The person you believed in was never real. They were a mask, a performance, a projection of what you longed for. And holding on to that illusion is costing you the most valuable thing you will ever have, yourself. But here is the beauty hidden in this truth. The moment you recognize the cost, you also recognize your power. Because if staying drains you, then leaving restores you. If staying silences you, then leaving gives you back your voice. If staying makes you forget who you are, then leaving is the path to remembering. Every tear you've cried, every piece of yourself you thought was gone, it's still within you, waiting to be reclaimed. Your life is not meant to be a constant fight for scraps of affection. You were not born to beg for love, to shrink yourself just to be tolerated, to hand over your worth in exchange for temporary validation. You were born to rise. You were born to be free. You were born to love and to be loved in a way that does not destroy you but empowers you. And when you finally accept that staying will never give you that, you open the door to a new beginning. The painful truth is this: you cannot save them. You cannot love them into healing. You cannot sacrifice enough of yourself to fill their emptiness. But you can save yourself. You can love yourself enough to walk away. You can rebuild stronger and wiser than before, and when you do, you will realize that the cost of staying was never worth it. Because the life waiting for you on the other side is not just survival, it is freedom, peace, and the kind of love that will never ask you to betray yourself again. Freedom begins the moment you decide that your life is worth more than their control. The moment you choose yourself over the illusion they've created, something powerful happens. You start to reclaim the parts of you they tried to erase. It doesn't happen all at once, but with every step you take away from their grip, your voice grows stronger, your spirit grows lighter, and your clarity returns. You realize that breaking free is not just an act of leaving someone behind, it is an act of coming back to yourself. For so long they convinced you that you were powerless. They wanted you to believe you couldn't survive without them, that your world would collapse if you walked away. But the truth is, the opposite is real. The moment you walk away, your world begins to expand. What once felt suffocating opens into possibility. What once felt hopeless begins to shine with new hope. You discover that the strength you thought you lost was never gone. It was simply buried under their lies. Walking away is not weakness. It is one of the greatest acts of strength you will ever make. It takes courage to step out of the familiar, even when that familiarity is toxic. It takes courage to choose uncertainty over abuse. It takes courage to say, I will no longer betray myself for the sake of someone else's comfort. And every time you take that step, you prove to yourself that you are stronger than the chains that tried to hold you down. And yes, it will hurt. It will feel like breaking an addiction because that is exactly what it is. The highs, the lows, the rare moments of affection followed by pain, they've wired your heart to crave what destroys you. But healing begins when you refuse to keep feeding that cycle. Healing begins when you accept that pain now is worth freedom later, because the temporary discomfort of walking away is nothing compared to the lifelong suffering of staying. The reward for your courage is not just escape, it is transformation. You begin to rebuild yourself piece by piece, stronger than before. You remember what it feels like to laugh freely, to speak without fear, to breathe without the constant weight of anxiety pressing against your chest. You realize that the life you thought was out of reach has always been waiting for you on the other side of letting go. And once you taste that freedom, you will never again settle for less than you deserve. This is where real love begins. Not the counterfeit version that demands your silence and sacrifice, but the authentic love that starts within. You begin to love yourself enough to protect your peace, to guard your energy, to refuse anything that diminishes your worth. You learn that self-love is not arrogance, it is survival. It is the foundation upon which every other form of love must stand. Because when you truly love yourself, you no longer accept crumbs. You wait for the feast of real connection, and here lies the ultimate truth. The greatest act of love you will ever give is to yourself. When you choose yourself, you show the world how you deserve to be treated. When you honor your boundaries, you teach others that your soul is not up for negotiation. When you walk away from what destroys you, you step into what was always meant for you: peace, clarity, and the freedom to build a life that reflects your true worth. Do not let fear convince you that you are trapped. Do not let loneliness trick you into returning to the very thing that broke you. The pain of letting go is temporary, but the peace of freedom is eternal. And when you finally release what was never real love, you create space for the kind of love that will heal you, nurture you, and remind you of the beauty of being alive. You are not defined by the person who hurt you. You are not defined by the scars they left. You are defined by the strength it takes to rise from the ashes, by the courage to rewrite your story, and by the unshakable truth that you are worthy of a love that never asks you to sacrifice your soul. Breaking free is not the end, it is the beginning. The beginning of a life built on self-respect, on freedom, on truth. The beginning of a journey where you no longer lose yourself in someone else's shadow, but instead walk boldly in your own light. And when you finally step into that light, you will see clearly you were never powerless, you were never unworthy, and you were never broken. You were simply waiting to remember the truth. The painful truth about loving a narcissist is that it destroys, but the liberating truth about leaving one is that it rebuilds. And when you rise from this, you will not only find love again, you will find yourself. And that is the most powerful victory of all. There comes a moment when the pain of staying finally outweighs the fear of leaving. That moment may not look dramatic from the outside, but inside, it feels like a breaking point. It is the instant you realize that you can no longer keep abandoning yourself just to hold on to someone who was never truly holding on to you. And that realization is the spark that ignites your transformation. For so long, you've been taught to doubt your instincts. You've been told that your feelings are too much, that your needs are unreasonable, that your boundaries are selfish. But when you strip away the lies, what you discover is that your instincts were right all along. The unease you felt was your soul warning you. The confusion you carried was your spirit fighting against their manipulation. The ache in your chest was your heart begging you to choose yourself.